We have been getting a lot of questions on how we get water way out to our sheep, being they are nowhere near our house or a watering source. So stay tuned and I'm going to show you how we do it. Hey guys, welcome back to Toops Time. Today we're going to be talking about our mobile watering system. There are 1,000,001 different ways to do something like this. We utilize things that we have lying around here on the property, so ours looks a bit like a Frankenstein contraption, but it works. So what we have is a tank of some sort. We use this IBC tote. We have it elevated off the ground so that it can gravity feed down to our other tank, which is a bathtub actually, but it works really well. For the IBC tote, you have standard 2-inch pipe threads that are on the end of this valve here that comes with the IBC tote. So you have to step that valve down from 2-inch male threads down to 3/4 inch female pipe threads, and then you can actually put you a hose spigot on there and attach a water hose. From here we have the water hose that we just have hanging on the fence here, and it goes all the way to the bathtub. This ridiculous ironing board thing is just to keep the sheep from actually going in there and messing with the shutoff valve, which is what I'll talk about next. Essentially, the water runs to the top of the shutoff valve, comes through and pours out the bottom. Whenever it's pressurized, if you actually have it hooked up to a watering source like a water hose at your house, for instance, it'll come gushing out of there. But being I'm just gravity feeding from this tank, it just kind of drips out. Most of the water actually comes out right here, which it's already getting to the level of the bottom of the float. That's why you don't really see anything coming out, but it is coming out. As the water fills up, this float will come up, and once it gets flush with the bottom of the valve, the water stops coming out. And that's how you keep your bathtub or whatever tank you have from overflowing. You can see by this line here that that is where this bathtub will actually fill up in this current location before the float actually shuts off. Ideally, I would have sheep have access to a fresh water source like a pond, which is what my cows get, but I do not have the fencing or structure ready to let the sheep out into those paddocks yet. So for now, this works really well, especially being way out here where I am. I have no city water, no well water, no pond or anything. So I am hauling water from way the heck over there to here. So while I have this IBC tote filling up with water, let's talk some downfalls of this watering system. Downfall number one, obviously we have to fill this thing up. Now how often we have to fill it up depends on the time of year. Ultimately, I would love to rotate my sheep down to my spring-fed pond like the cows are getting, but I'm still not done with the fencing. So for now, we have to fill this thing up quite often because it is hot right now. During the winter, I may have filled this thing up once every 2 weeks or something like that. They rarely need a whole lot of water during the winter, but during the summer, once these temperatures started hitting, instead of once a week whenever it was warm last year, now it's like once every 3 or 4 days. Now, let me clarify what I mean by filling up. You will have to fill this thing up a whole lot less if you have a bigger tractor than what I have. My tractor will actually only pick this thing up if it's filled up to here. So, if you have a big tractor that can fill this IBC tote all the way to the top, man, that is awesome, and you'll have to fill this thing up probably once every 2 weeks versus once every 3 or 4 days right now. Downfall number two with this type of system is it isn't the coolest water for them because it is sitting out in the direct sunlight. It's a fairly clear container, and it isn't a whole lot of water in there. So that water does heat up. Not a huge deal. They still get hydrated off of it, but I'm sure they would much rather a cool drink out of the pond. Downfall number three is this is a 2-piece watering system. So I have this obviously and the tub. What I would have rathered do, which I didn't think of at the time, is get 2 of these IBC totes and somehow or another put one directly underneath this one so that the water actually fills up into that IBC tote beneath it, and have the cutoff valve in there instead so that I can haul the entire thing around with the tractor rather than having to make 2 trips if I ever were to move this watering system. But being they have a commons paddock out there, and their watering system stays in the same spot, it's not a huge deal to me. Final downfall that I'd like to talk about is going to be the fact that this actually costs money to fill up versus the water at the pond is absolutely free. So we are on city water here at our place. If you have a well, it'll be a whole lot cheaper for you to fill this thing up, but it would be a whole lot nicer if I could actually have them down at the pond and this water would actually cost me nothing. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how we get water out to our sheep whenever we don't actually have water lines out there. I hope this was helpful to you guys who also have paddocks that are way away from your home and a watering source. God bless you guys. We will see you on the next one.